So let's think about how would you do control on the SLIP model, okay? All right, so what we've given ourselves now is a map from apex to apex, which was parameterized by my control parameter, my touchdown angle, right? So you can ask, how do I design a controller? If I wanted to design a controller to potentially move the fixed point to make it more stable, I could design the controller to live right on the return map. I could wait for the system to get to, in fact, it doesn't really make sense to move the leg between that. So when I get to the top, I'll look at my state, I'll look at Y, and I'll choose a new touchdown angle for the next state, right? Theta touchdown at the nth step. Okay? So how could you do that? How would you design that controller? Well, there's a lot of nice methods to do it. So hopefully the first thing that comes to your mind is I could do LQR, right? I could linearize the map P. I'd end up with a discrete time map. Maybe I'm in my bar coordinates here. Right? And then I could do LQR. And that'll work well. And now you remember that you've done the discrete time LQR also on the homework. It's a little different than the continuous time, but totally doable. That works well. But there's actually a nicer trick. There's a nicer way to do it for the case where I know P and it's a sort of simple function that I can reason about numerically. If not, if I have the linearization assumptions, I have it analytically. If not, I could get it numerically easily. And it's something that's sort of unique to discrete time maps. You don't typically think about doing it in continuous time, but certainly for walking, it's a powerful idea. And that's the idea of deadbeat control. Right, so in continuous time, it takes time to get wherever you're trying to go. If my goal is to get to the origin, I have no choice but to go sort of slowly to the origin. And taking an exponential progression towards the origin is a perfectly good thing to do. In discrete time systems, I jump. So there's no requirement that I take an exponential path to the orbit. I could actually go boom right to the orbit in a single step. That's something that you can do in a discrete time system that's not as natural in a continuous time system. So So I can literally, when I find myself in some Y, I could start interrogating P. I could evaluate it at every possible theta touchdown for my current Y, and find the theta touchdown so that my next one is going to be 0, or is my Y desired. That's the idea of a deadbeat controller. Get there in one step. And you can certainly do that for the SLIP model, and that's the sort of recommended control for SLIP, is compute that on every step, put your angle at exactly where you need to be, so on the next step you're at your desired hopping height. The cool thing is that the function that emerges, my control function, if you look at the the thing you solve for, it's a smooth function such that if I didn't know, it's hard for me to say this quickly, but let me see, I'll try. Imagine that I'm hopping along and I don't know the height of the ground, okay? But I'd like to maintain some constant height. It just so happens that for the SLIP model, if I go through and I put myself at a theta touchdown at a certain angle and sweep it through at a particular rate, then that function exists such that whenever I happen to hit the ground, I'll be at the deadbeat controller for that height, and I'll hop back up. Okay? So if I just put my leg blindly through some schedule, whenever if the ground happened to be high, I'll hit it early, but that happened to be I want to have a slight angle when I hit it early. If the ground was low, then I actually want to have a steep angle so I can put it more back up into vertical. So I just run through a schedule like this, and independent of ground height, I can always be at the deadbeat controller. Okay, that was another result by Hartmut. And that's the video that I put in the wrong order here. This is what that looks like. His model of SLIP here just hops along and will always get back to the nominal height, independent of what the ground's doing, just by following this schedule. And they even put it on this little robot here. And it wasn't perfect. It went up a little bit, but that's a pretty cool idea that you could get. You guys were asking about open loop stability before, right? This is a nice example of open loop stability that are actually robust to the terrain just by having a deadbeat controller on the schedule. Very cool idea.